your pants around your feet.
All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. It is Tuesday, Tasty Tunage Tuesday. And, well, I'm excited for today because we've been on for, we're getting close to 500 episode. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe we'll do something for the 500th episode. But we're getting up there. We are getting up there. And we have not talked about this band yet. And as far as I can tell, this could be my last show ever today, if that's the case for some of you people, given the topic. So if that's the case, so be it. But let's talk about this band because I feel like we're in the trust tree finally, and we can have a serious discussion about Nickelback. Are you ready? Are you ready? I know you're ready. Ready? Okay, let's talk about Nickelback. What's up with Nickelback? The first thing you type, if you just type, why do people hate? The first thing that comes up on the Google machine is Nickelback. And then it's things like, why do people hate me? Why do people hate, certain kinds of foods? Why do people hate whatever it is? New Jersey was one of them. But anyway, they're the first one. So what is the story with that? So Nickelback, Canadian band out of Canada, right? And hugely successful, right? 50 million records in the 2000s, 6 Grammy nominations. These guys sold a lot of records and got nominated for a lot of awards. And there was a time where they weren't hated on. But, the critics were not necessarily big fans, but obviously there were plenty of fans just scarfing up their music like Pac-Man. Just selling a lot of records, right? So, what's the deal? Think about the timing, first of all. The 2000s, man. It's an interesting time for rock and roll, right? They're coming off the heels of grunge, so this is post-grunge. So you got established, awesome bands of the 90s, still rolling along, some of them, but you got the likes of Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots. All those things. That's the kind of music you're like, yeah, that kicks some serious ass, right? But then you get that post-grunge area, and then all of a sudden it's like this copy of grunge, sort of, but more like pop rock. Like, hard to explain, right, what that music is. And basically Nickelback was the leader of this type of music. Again, lots of people like this music. But I think what happened is plenty of resentment, fatigue from overexposure, and there's always those contrarians out there. But this type of music, it's not like everyone was hating on Smash Mouth or, Creed. How about Creed? Did they get some blowback? But they didn't have as many hits. The problem was Nickelback was churning out hit after hit after hit. So that's what brought them to the front of the pack. Basically low-hanging fruit to be like, these guys are the face of that music, and we're getting tired of hearing that music, and they're the ones who make the most of that music. They're kind of like Gwyneth Paltrow, right? That's kind of what they're like, right? It's easy to hate on Gwyneth. What about Coldplay? Plenty of Coldplay haters out there, but not to the extent that it goes to Nickelback. Nickelback has its own special place in hatred. So, again, most people say, coming off that grunge music, and then this whole thing with all this type of music, but this was just, people got tired of this type of music. And Nickelback kind of wrote the same song over and over again, didn't they? It was similar. They were good songs. They weren't awesome songs. They were always good songs, but they always kind of sounded alike, and they didn't really advance their musical style or anything like that. They didn't do anything that made them more interesting in that regard. They tended to churn out the same kind of music, right? Which worked for a long time. A lot of people went to see them, and a lot of people bought their records, and a lot of people got their tattoos also. So there was plenty of that. Interestingly, they were originally signed to Roadrunner Records. Roadrunner is a metal label, strictly metal. And so when Nickelback got big, obviously not metal, but the Roadrunner Records was like, man, we got to promote these guys. We're going to make a lot of money. And a lot of the metal fans, metal fans can be rough, right? They didn't, you think about Most people don't pay attention to the labels, but they did pay attention to the labels in the 90s. I mean, if you were a music fan, if you were deep enough fan, you knew who was on what labels. That may not be the case anymore, but it certainly was that there were factions of people who listened to stuff. If it was on a certain label, you would buy it because it was the same kind of music, whether it was punk or metal or whatever it was. You would just buy it. And so the fans were getting resentful that the label was putting money into Nickelback and not the metal artists that they really wanted to hear. So the other piece of it is lead singer, right? The lead singer is the driver of music of the band, of the face of the band, literally. And if you love the singer, then you're gonna do quite well, right? You can even be a mediocre hit machine, but have an awesome front singer, and you'd be doing pretty well. But Chad Kroeger, pretty unlikable. I mean, he had bad hair, a bad beard. He came across as arrogant. It was easy to not like him as well. And so then you also have the evolution of the internet. This is when we're talking early days of Reddit, 4chan. I mean, this is like early stuff happening where people, if you were contrarian, it's easy to be contrarian. You're like, you know what? Everyone loves Nickelback. I hate Nickelback. You know what? I hate those guys, and then you get enough of that becomes a groundswell, and all of a sudden it piles on, and the memes start. They're probably like one of the first memes too, right? And people are like, oh yeah, everyone must hate Nickelback, so I guess I hate Nickelback. And then that just builds until it finally tips over to the other side. And so, I mean, you got to feel bad for these guys in some ways in that regard, but it's not like they didn't do themselves any favors with probably good music, kind of the same songs, but they got a lot of good songs, in my opinion. That's where I'm going with this. But that's where the Nickelback came in as far as piling on. They were just, again, low-hanging fruit, the sign, the face of a certain type of music that people just got tired of hearing. That's the only way I can figure it out, right? So, but I never walked around saying, I hate Nickelback. I mean, you see all those things and you kind of laugh. You say, wow, those guys, they got a thing going there, right? But there's plenty of bands that I don't care for, but I'm just not as vocal about it. I don't talk about the bands that I don't care for, but and the music isn't as big. So if you talk about really big bands right now that are really popular, you could talk about Zac Brown Band or Mumford & Sons or the Lumineers, those kinds of things. That's not my jam, but there's probably not, I mean, some of those are really big, but maybe it just wasn't as big a fan base as Nickelback or that type of music. I can't figure that part out, but certainly people aren't walking around saying to the extent that they do Nickelback that they don't like those songs with such a fever of that. I mean, basically, if you say that you like Nickelback, people will just look at you and be like, no, just no. You don't have any, it actually takes away from your taste. Like, they're like, you don't have good taste in music. This is a ding on your actual who you are and your personality. Like, I don't know, I can't even be seen standing next to you right now. I gotta go. Like, I can't do that. So anyway, I'm here to say I don't mind Nickelback. I don't go out and play their music, but when I hear some of their songs, I don't mind it at all. So that's the part that I'm saying. There's got to be some Nickelback fans out there. It's just, you got to keep it quiet, right? You can't really talk about it. You got to keep that over there. Just don't say it. Just play it quietly in your car when no one's around so you can just hear their music. Let's talk about their music. They got some good songs. How You Remind Me, Burn It to the Ground, Saving Me, Figured You Out. That's the first song I ever heard from them. Awesome song. Rockstar is, I mean, people were annoyed by that because they thought it was him singing about himself, and that's where he got the arrogance part, but it's a brilliant song and video. The video is one of the most brilliant videos I've ever seen, and it's great. I like that song. I got no issues with that song. Too Bad, Feeling Way Too Damn Good. That's a good one. Far Away, If Today Was Your Last Day, Someday, Never Again, Gotta Be Someone, Something in Your Mouth, Lullaby, and Photograph. I mean, come on, Photograph. The funny part about Photograph is when my kids were young, we had a Kids Bop record where the kids sang that song, and then when they get to the part where they kiss, the kids go, ooh. It's pretty funny. Like, we still tell that story anyway. But you name all these songs, and a lot of times you just can't even pick which one's which. Like, can you get all those in your head as far as which song is which? Sometimes it's kind of muddled together. So how do I pick a song of the day? There's two that are easy for me. We'll highlight two. First and foremost, the first one I ever heard from them, that's when I was like, man, this stuff is good. These guys are pretty good. And that's Figured You Out. It's just hard rock, and it was, it was just great song. And then Rockstar, you had to play Rockstar because of the video. I'm at 10 minutes here. This is a long one, but Rockstar, I'm still good with that one. I'm good with the video. So, is it my last show or what? What do you guys think? Again, I don't play it. I don't I don't even own a Nickelback CD, but I don't mind their music at all. I'm not the hater that a lot of people are. I don't have their tattoo, but I'm just saying, like, maybe, just maybe, there's some room for their music every once in a while. So, you haters out there, you got a lot to say? So I know some of you are going to be fans. All right, that's Nickelback for today. Sorry for the length, 11 minutes. Tasty Tunage Tuesday. Have a good one, and as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.